This is Paul from Respect the Tech. Now, last year, Samsung announced the Galaxy Note 7. Despite initial reviews of the product actually being well received, over time there were reports of the battery exploding, which ultimately led to 2 recalls, and then the device ended up being discontinued completely. Now, me being a big fan of tech, I found that to be very disheartening, just because I feel like for tech to advance as a whole, I feel like all the manufacturers need to be giving 100%, just so we all have high-end products that competitors can actually strive to one-up each other in the tech market. So seeing something like that happening, it's definitely something I wouldn't want to wish on anybody else. Now, despite that being said, I do want to commend Samsung for actually stepping out in front of this and actually not deflecting blame or trying to pretend like it didn't happen or trying to blame us as the customer of why that actually happened. It's very tough for somebody like that to actually have to go out there and just swallow their pride and say, hey, you know what, this was our fault. As a matter of fact, last month at their Unpacked event, they actually did a tribute to fans of the Note series. It was very, very moving tribute. I'll actually link that video up here if you guys haven't had a chance to watch that yet. Anyways, it's pretty much just showing how much people actually loved and appreciate their Galaxy Note line. And then in the video, you actually see that they actually apologize for letting people down. And again, I found it to be very moving, and I definitely want to applaud them for actually, not hiding from this. And ultimately, that leads us to this video here now today. They're back in the market, and they're not giving up, and they're giving us something that we all been wanting to see. So without further ado, this is what I'm here to present you guys today. This is the Samsung Galaxy Note 8. Without further ado, let's get into it. You're going to notice that the packaging is exactly like the Galaxy S7 and the Galaxy S8, which despite me actually being a fan of, I'm a little disappointed for actually seeing this on the Note 8 just because this phone's expensive. So I was actually hoping we would have gotten something like what they actually sent out for media kits for people in the press. So other than that, I mean, this is regular standard packaging. I'm actually using the AT&T variant, which I bought myself. This isn't sponsored or anything like that. So as you can see, if we look on the back here, we will get the AT&T logo here. So we're going to go ahead now and take a look at what's inside. Alright, so we got the Samsung logo right here. And taking the flap open, and right away we got a quick start guide from AT&T, which I like how they put right up here because they know I'm going to just toss that right to the side. And we have the big notification about no texting and driving. It can wait, not worth the ticket. So I like that they made that very prominent on their phones. I'm going to go and place that right here on the side. I'm going to see what else is inside here now. Going in here, we have a SIM card. I'm going to go ahead and place that right over here. And then here we have the SIM eject tool. And I believe in here we actually have more paperwork. So, you know what, I'm just going to toss the paperwork because I don't need that, but I'm definitely going to need this. So I'm going to keep this handy. And then going into the box itself, we have the power adapter. Real straightforward, basic, just like the one that you would get on the S8. No different there. And the port, looks like the little mini adapters that they're including are also the same as the one on the S8. So we have the OTG one here, which allows you to plug in a USB and into the USB-C, because the port on the Note 8 is USB-C. So that's what we have here. And then here we have the micro USB adapter. So if you're still using, if you have any old Android phones that you're coming from, you can actually use those same cables to plug into the Note 8 with this adapter here. That way you don't have to throw those out and you can still use old cables, which is pretty cool, honestly, because other manufacturers just switch the cables and don't give you any kind of adapters or anything like that. So it's pretty cool to see that they actually care about stuff like that. Going into the bottom here, we have the charge cable, which is USB-C to USB-A. That's Samsung's, prominent charge cable. I'm pretty sure if you went USB-C to USB-C, it would still probably be just as fast. I'm not 100% on that, so don't quote me, but that's what they're using here. I'm going to put that back in here. And in here we also have more, here are the S Pen replacement tips. So in here we have a couple of different tips here for the S Pen. And then in here we have the AKG earbuds that they actually included with the S8. I heard they're pretty legit. I personally haven't actually used them yet. Though I have the S8 Plus, but mine's are actually still in the packaging, believe it or not. I tend to use wireless earphones, so I wouldn't know how they sound like, but I am going to actually test these out with the Note 8. So I'm going to definitely give you guys some feedback on that on the review. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. But other than that, that's it. I mean, there's nothing else in here. Everything's straightforward. There you guys have it. I mean, that's what's inside the Galaxy Note 8. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead now and give you guys some up-close shots as well as my first impressions. Starting off with the hardware of the phone, we're going to take a look at the left side first, which features the volume control as well as the Bixby button. And on the bottom, you're going to find your headphone jack, USB-C charging port, as well as your S Pen. And on the right side, you're going to see that the power button is there by itself, followed by the top, which has an ejector hole for your SIM card tray, which is a nano SIM, as well as your micro SD card. Up front, you're going to have a 6.3 Quad HD Super AMOLED display with a resolution of 2960 by 1440 with a 521 pixel per inch count that's HDR10 compliant. And above the display, you're going to find the iris scanner as well as a front-facing camera with an 8 megapixel sensor with an f2.4 aperture. On the back, we have a dual camera setup with both cameras sporting a 12 megapixel sensor, with the primary having an aperture of f1.7 and the telephoto having an aperture f2.4. Both cameras sport optical image stabilization, which is a first for a smartphone, and you'll also find on the back the fingerprint reader as well. As far as internals go, we have a Snapdragon 835 processor, an Adreno 540 GPU, 6GB of RAM, IP68 water and dust resistance, wireless charging support, as well as 64GB of storage. Now for impressions, the very first thing that jumped out at me was this screen. Man, is it gorgeous. The display on this is by far the best I've ever seen on a smartphone to date. And having HDR10 support really actually helps out big time. As you can see here on YouTube, you're actually able to watch HDR content if the video you're watching actually supports it. And it's really a dream, and it's really hard to do it justice on video. It's really something you have to see in person, but it's incredible. Not only are you limited to YouTube, but you're also able to watch HDR content and Netflix. If you have the Ultra HD package, you're able to see Netflix originals that are tagged with the HDR label on the footage you're watching. So be sure you're actually looking out for that, because as you're watching footage, there's no display indicator letting you know you're watching in HDR. So just make sure you're looking out for that before you're actually clicking on the video you're watching if you want to see some HDR footage. The deep blacks, the contrast ratio, it really makes watching video on a smartphone that much more incredible. It's really hard to do this justice over a camera, but man, I actually enjoy watching videos on my phone now, and I haven't really been able to say that really since I've owned a phone. So that goes to show you how good this display really is. Now, because the display has an 18.5:9 ratio, not everything fits perfectly. Fortunately, depending on where you're watching your content, you're actually able to determine whether you want to fill the screen but crop footage, or actually be able to fit everything at the cost of black bars on the side. On to the second thing that stood out to me, performance. This phone just flat out flies. Whether I'm just navigating the launcher or I'm jumping in and out of apps at will, I'm not experiencing any kind of major slowdowns or something that really is cause for concern. However, I am well aware that this is a Samsung, and this always happens when the phone first comes out, so I'm really excited to see how this actually holds up over time. On to my final standout, the camera. This thing is incredible. Here's a shot of the new live focus feature. This is a default blur, and now you're looking at it with me exaggerating the blur all the way to the max. Now here's a shot I took standing along the pier. This is using the main camera lens, and now here's me using the telephoto. As you can see, the detail still holds up really well. And finally, we have a shot here at night along the pier. I'm really impressed with how good this does even with low light. As you can see, the optical image stabilization really does help out bringing out some of the features at night. Overall, I think this is going to be a great camera for people who don't want to be carrying out an extra one. This is going to make for a great point and shoot. Honestly, this phone is great overall, and I can honestly say this is probably going to be one of the top smartphones for 2017. So there you guys have it. This was my unboxing and first impressions of the Samsung Galaxy Note 8. If you guys found this video helpful in any way, please be sure to support the channel and hit the like button down below. And if you're new around here, be sure to subscribe. That way you get some more future content from me, as I will be dropping a lot of really good videos really soon. So be sure to stay tuned for that. And in the meantime, you can follow me on my social media down below at respect_tech951. Until then, this is Paul from Respect the Tech, and I'll see you guys in the next video.